Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome today James Stewart from Decapitated and Charlie Koryn from Incantation. We are super stoked to have them today because also they just joined our AXiS family and they're both on the roster right now. And we'll get into what pedals did they choose and what are they playing. So please welcome everybody. Let's welcome James and Charlie.
Woo! All right. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. I'm really glad that you are here, and we are doing this interview right before we do an awesome clinic at the Steakhouse Studio in North Hollywood. So today we're just gonna sit down with James and Charlie and just talk about their background and their musical journey. So to start, I want to ask James a question, which is mainly what was the reason that drove you to pursue drumming professionally?
Professionally, I don't even know. Like, I don't remember. But the way I got into drumming in the first place was actually my school just started offering drum lessons. Like a local teacher was coming through, and a friend of mine at that school at the time was already playing drums, and he was just talking all the time about it. Like, oh man, it's really awesome. And he was, like kind of being a bit big, like, oh, I'm so good. So like, it's awesome. I can do all these things and stuff. And I was just thinking, all right, shut the fuck up. I'm going to take drum lessons as well then. So I did it primarily just to annoy someone, which, if you know me, makes so much sense.
Mind is blown.
You are so not surprised at all, right?
But yeah, okay, it makes sense. It's all a big joke.
What about you, Charlie? What got you to start drumming?
I think I was probably like 1 or 2, and we lived in this apartment, and I would take a bath in the sink there, and there'd be these block parties, and I remember vividly seeing a drummer. There'd be like punk bands playing and stuff. So I was just drawn to the drum set. So I was just kind of banging on pots and pans. And then my parents were cool enough, or maybe not present enough, to just, here, have a drum kit. And then I always had like toy drum kits that I would mess around with. And then when I was about 5 or 6, I started studying with Dave Yosikinen. He plays drums in the Hooters. He's a Philly guy, but he was living in San Diego. So I ended up studying with him, and he's the one that kind of showed me like the fun of drumming. So it kind of just snowballed from there.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Being lucky enough to have a good mentor starting off will just make you like fall in love with your instrument even more.
Yeah, the thing about Dave is he didn't go straight into like the technical side of drumming. He just like hears drums, and like he pretty much showed me the fun of the instrument. So I think that's what kept me interested.
Yeah, that's definitely a plus, because like a teacher can simply like make you love or hate your passion, So
yeah, it was never something like, oh, you need to. It wasn't super strict until later on. I had the strict teachers, but
yeah, he clearly has experience to know when to push and when to like make you just love your instrument.
Yeah, you're just a 6-year-old kid. You just want to have fun. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, the nice thing about drums compared to other instruments, like it's really easy to get a good sound out of it quickly.
Yeah,
like with violin or with trumpet or any of those kind of things, you have to practice just to get a sound out of it.
Oh, because of the melodies, and because it's a melodic instrument.
Yes, but also like an actual trumpet. It's really hard to get a sound out of a trumpet.
Yeah, I remember one time I tried the thing with the lips.
Yeah, it's like really not easy. In drums, you just hit them.
Yeah, when you're a baby or a toddler, you're a drummer already. Like kids are picking up stuff and hitting them. You're already there.
Yeah, I heard that before. I heard that like I think Mike Keller was I was talking to him once, and he was telling me like give a drumstick to a baby, and they hold the drumstick perfectly. And then after that they just see so many things, and then they start to make mistakes.
Life will screw you up, and then you forget how to hold a stick. It happens to all of us.
Yeah, so let's talk about since we talk about metal music. Let's talk about like what for both of you, basically the question. What are the artists that like influenced, and like when you saw this band or this drummer and you were like, I want to become a drummer, like that he was the rock star, the idol that influenced you to go and do it?
I don't think anyone really like, because I got into metal before I got into drumming.
Yeah,
actually, because I started really late. I was like 12, well, not really late, but 12, so comparatively late. And I knew that I wanted to do something in metal, like I think even if I hadn't picked up drums, I probably would have messed around with guitar for a bit, realized it wasn't any good, but I would have probably gone into something and like something involving metal, like touring or working for a label or merch or anything, because it was more, I just wanted to be a part of that. So when I got into drums and really got into drumming, I was like, well, okay, metal bands have drummers. Guess I'm going to go and do that then. Like, so there was no conscious decision. Like, I didn't see Lars or Joey or like, and just go, oh shit, I need to take up drums and get in a metal band. It was just, I really like metal. I really like drums. So let's go. It's no brainer, you know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That it's just that intuitive, you know. And then opportunities probably were there. And then
I mean, you know, there's bands at school. There's kids who are taking guitar lessons. There's kind of people around. There's a really good scheme where I grew up called it's called Berkshire Maestros now. But they just take these kids from all these different schools and put them in rock bands, and they just give you a cover every week, you know. So like, you know, you learn White Stripes one week, and each band has a different one. Like
from MI, the WLP,
yeah, the LPWs,
yeah. I mean,
Live
so
performance workshop.
Yeah, but this is like for children.
Yeah,
but it's that sort of thing.
They have like school rocks around. I know they're in the States all over, but
and so yeah, when I actually did go to school and start to music school and start doing LPWs, I was like, oh, I've been doing this for fucking years. Yeah. This is easy. And everyone, I've got to learn a song in a week. Are you serious? I'm like, what? It's like so easy. Anyway.
Yeah, but what about you? What is there a drummer or is there a band that you saw that you were like, oh my god?
Early on, my drum teacher showed me like the old like Led Zeppelin DVD, or maybe they were on VHS tape. So like watching,
VHS,
watching.
The song remains the same. Is it?
I don't even remember what it was. I just remember seeing like John Bonham just playing these giant drums and like, wow, this guy has so much power and this is so cool. And then actually, a few years later, I did a similar thing. It was like a rock band camp type thing. And I remember one of the songs that we played War Pigs, and that was kind of my introduction to Black Sabbath. And I remember I had like this early computer where I could loop a section. It was like an early version of GarageBand or something. And I remember I figured out how to loop the whole like fill section at the beginning, because that's what I struggled with. And I would just play those fills in War Pigs for hours. And that was kind of like, that made me super interested in both recording and playing drums.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like Bonham and Bill Ward, you know.
Yeah, and then from there, like you learn, like in like middle school, like somebody showed me Slayer, and then it's game over from there.
Yeah, I understand. David Lombardo is just one of a kind, man. Of course, that's awesome. So I go back to you about we were able to see online that like Slipknot's Wait and Bleed. You have mentioned that song. Yeah. I remember I grew up. Those first two albums are also very awesome. They part of my childhood. Yeah. So tell me more about Wait and Bleed.
It's the single that they released. That's what I mean. That's why that song, because it was the one that they released. It was available. So back in the days when people bought singles, when that was still a thing. Yeah. Like I just bought that. I didn't have money to buy an album, and also they had those parental advisory stickers, which meant that actually they wouldn't be sold to you if you were too young. Yeah. So Wait and Bleed was the only one that didn't have a parental advisory sticker on it. So that's why that was the only I couldn't buy the album. I was like 10 anyway, so I just bought the single. And also like I wasn't super like that was like very very much at the beginning of the journey. Like I wasn't into metal at that point, so I just bought a single. I was just like, oh, okay. Some people are talking about this band, here it is for like £3, so I guess I'll just buy it. And then that was it. After that, I became like a rabid metal fan. So it just happened to be there. That's the only thing, you know. Like it could have easily been like the Papa Roach track from that time. What was that one? Last Resort.
Yeah, that was
Last Resort.
That was
Linkin Park would have been like the Hybrid Theory singles, or like Limp Bizkit, Rollin'. Even that kind of stuff. Like when you're 10, that stuff is heavy.
I remember chocolate starfish growing up with.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're like 10 years old and your parents disapprove, then you know you're into something good. You know,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That actually makes you want to.
Or you listen to something and it scares you. Like I remember hearing death metal for the first time. I'm like, this is insane, but I'm drawn to it. I turned it off right away and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome.
I genuinely detested Led Zeppelin for years because my dad told me they were cool.
Yeah.
Like he was like, "Oh, you're getting into music," so like he forced me to listen to Led Zeppelin, and I hated it on principle. Like, it was just like, I'm not. No, don't give in. Like he's like, wait till the bit in Stairway to Heaven kicks in. I'm like, no. Acoustic guitars, no. This is shit.
This doesn't piss you off, so I don't think it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and even like my dad, like the IT guy, scientist type. It's like, no. If you say this is cool, I'm absolutely not interested. You know what I mean? And Led Zeppelin's great, unless my dad's listening, in which case they are still shit.
So what about you? Do you have like a specific song? You were talking about War Pigs a minute ago, but
that was like one that was when I first started like learning full songs and stuff. That was like one of those songs. I think we covered like The Ocean by Led Zeppelin too. You know, just like classic songs that you play when you're a kid. And I remember hearing like Sex Pistols and stuff too, and Ramones and stuff, and trying to figure out like how to get my right hand to do what he's doing in the Ramones that was a big thing too.
Yeah, that's those kinds of like bands, like you need to like really look closely to see like all the nuances.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. There was like that video of Joey Jordison, like on the Cage drum set doing the solo where it flips him upside down.
Piece.
When I saw that, I didn't even really know much about like double bass playing or anything, or what. I thought he was doing all these rolls on the toms the whole time.
I thought that as well.
Yeah, and I was like, how is he doing that? And then I went back. There's like old videos of me from like a camcorder of me just trying to play as fast as I could around the toms because I thought that's what he was doing.
I thought it was a floor tom as well. That's really interesting.
I thought it was that really inspired me to like play a bigger kit and stuff.
That's really fucking crazy that we both thought that.
Yeah, and listening to records and not knowing about production or anything and just thinking that's how your drums need to sound. And I was like so frustrated in my garage trying to get my drum kit to sound like a studio record.
Why doesn't it sound like $1 million record?
Yeah, trying all sorts of like putting tape in. And it's like, this does not sound good when I play it.
Yeah, Sepultura ruined my tom tuning for ages because I thought that was like, you know, like Roots or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought like, hang on, like, do I have to tune my 10 that high?
Yeah.
It's funny. I would. It was one of the songs that I grew up also Roots, playing it every day with my buddies, just getting some beers and just playing Roots every day. And that groove, that hit, I had like a small bongos.
Yeah.
I used to do it on it, but yeah, definitely Sepultura.
Yeah, I mean, but that, like, I thought everything had to be tuned super high for a really long time because of that. I was just like, but how else do you get that sound? Didn't occur to me that they weren't toms.
That's funny. I now that I think of it, I spent most of my drumming life just thinking that, wow, how do I get these drums to sound like these records? Like my drums sound like shit. How do I, like, trying to adjust your playing, which is a lot of it, but also it's like, then you learn about recording and studio magic and all that stuff. Processing.
And you see also that like whenever you want to learn stuff like that, like the extreme production I always like whenever I want to like first listen, I think the drummer is doing way more than what he's doing because of the production. I hear like I feel like he's doing so much more, and then whenever I analyze it, it's actually usually way less than what I perceived at first.
Yeah, it always fit. Like I had this when learning some songs, like. And I notice it when people are air drumming along at shows. They put in fills every few seconds, like 4 or 5 times more than there are in the song. It's like, people just think there are fills all over the place, but there's not. And that's the production it might have something to do with it. I think just the intensity as well of everything.
Yeah, it's also like the sound, when the sound is so big, it's just.
But I've fallen into that trap as well of just playing fills all the time and then being like, oh no, it's like it's half as many or even fewer, you know, or even less than that.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
Especially learning, like we both have to learn some of these records that are 30 years old or whatever now, and it's hard to tell what's going on with the production with some of those crazy old
Well, I mean,
productions.
I think for Incantation, that's a harder job than with Decap or
Yeah,
Vader.
definitely.
It's more because you got that. It's like the guitars are so low. Like,
where it's sometimes you're shooting from the hip on what's going on with the drums. You kind of like
the drums are tuned really low.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing, but like it's almost like the more your ears get used to hearing this type of music, the more stuff you'll hear over the years. Like your ears just get better at picking things up.
Well, and you get into the like the mental, like the headspace of whoever it is you're trying to.
Yeah, so okay, this is what he would probably be doing.
He would have gone for this tom.
Yeah.
Like, and all this kind of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, definitely. Like doing it more, you will start to look past, you know, the production and understand that the big sounds are not like they're not just more sounds. They're just like produced big like that.
Yeah.
So I want to talk also about your transition from Vader to Decapitated. How did that happen? To like what were your main challenges? Like going from like because they're two different. The styles are a little different. The tempo range is different a little bit.
Kind of. I mean, transitionally, I mean, there wasn't much of a transition because I was just playing in both bands for a couple of years already. Yeah. So like I got the call. I did Decap as a session as a fill-in for a while, and I just really enjoyed it, so I stayed. That was basically it. You know. In terms of a transition, it wasn't really the transition. The difficulties weren't really about joining Decap. They were about leaving Vader, you know, because I've been there for 10 years and that's a long time, especially for Vader, because they do so many shows. They do like about 150 shows a year, sometimes more. So it's well over 1,000 shows that I did with the boys. And so I'm making sure that someone would come along who would kind of do justice to the hard work. They've got Mihal now, who was my first choice to join the band, and someone I know quite well, and know he's super happy to be in the band and is doing an amazing job. But it was making sure that I didn't leave, just like drop everything and fuck off. You know, it was about finding the right guy, waiting for him to finish his studies and also to kind of get his chops up a little bit. And Pete gave me the same courtesy when I joined the band. When I first got offered the post in Vader, I was very close to finishing my degree, and he gave me the extra 5 months to do that. So then I picked it up after my degree, which was amazing. So it was all about like joining bands and leaving bands. It's kind of like a bathroom policy. Leave it in a condition you want to find it in.
It's also because you seem to be more on the professional side, and you want to also like.
Well, look, I mean, sometimes that's not possible. You know, bridges get burnt, the exchanges get heated, whatever. And I could tell that at the time Pete was a little bit upset, especially because it's with like a Vader Decap thing. They're very close. Volker's also played in Vader before, and you know the histories go quite a long way back together. Vader's been a big deal for Decap, so making sure that everything was good. It was a bit uncomfortable for a while. Now it's really cool. Everything's fine. So it's just that's all just normal stuff. But it was making sure that it didn't descend into one of those ugly things where, you know, like where no one ever speaks to each other again, and like all of that shit. That was of paramount importance to me, that we didn't have that kind of thing. So the transition musically into Decap there wasn't really one, because we'd just been playing together and it was working, you know. So the transition was more about I was more looking, rather than looking forwards into Decap, I was looking backwards and making sure that everything was cool there. So the biggest challenge of a transition was more not burning that bridge.
So it was just mostly of like just running the logistics.
It was kind of good for a while, because they just had tours avoiding each other, like things were happening, like so I was able to do both things at once for a while, and I was still like session with Decap. So Eugene would sometimes fill in for Decap when I had to be busy with Vader. And we did that for a while, and then Vog joined Machine Head. So there was also, it was like, it didn't make sense for me to leave Vader to go to Decap when there's nothing happening because Vog's on tour with Machine Head, you know. So we had quite a long time to figure it out, which is
what also helped make it a smooth
well,
transition.
and then COVID also made, actually, I really lucked out with the timing of COVID. And one of the reasons why was because also it gave, like, no one was touring. So actually, it didn't matter if how many bands I was in, because none of them were playing anything. So we ended up with really a lot of time to figure it out and kind of do it properly, which I think we have done. I'm quite proud of how I was able to leave the band in a really good way, and that the Vader guys are happy and they're carrying on and touring all the time, and everything's good with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just saw their show at 1720 like a few months ago.
Oh yes, with Origin and Decrepit Birth.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Cool. So what about you? I wanna talk a little bit about like mostly like maybe like getting the Morbid Angel gig, getting to just like nail those like crazy tempos, like how like tell the fans like what did you go through like to just get ready for a gig like that, and between your other bands also, like between Ascended Dead and Incantation, different BPMs, different feels, different way of playing. So take us through like how do you like manage those and how you transition?
I would say like my band Ascended Dead is I'm just super influenced by Pete Sandoval and his playing. So to me, it's like I've already kind of like really enjoyed his style of playing. It's such a unique style of playing, but it's been like such an inspiration to me, and I've been such a big Morbid Angel and Terrorizer fan and just Pete fan in general. So like I think understanding his approach and his feel, like I've watched and studied his playing so much that it wasn't so much like learning the songs was tough, but it was a big challenge for me in just like tightening up my feet and the way I played the kick drums. Like that was really when I figured out like the use of triggers and playing with triggers and kind of lightening up my approach and using more ankle. And I also was using like some of those faster tempos, like using double strokes and things like that. I had a super short amount of time to get prepared for the gig. So that was one of those things where I couldn't say no when I got the call, but it was a big challenge. But it ended up working out pretty well, and pretty happy with how it went and all that.
Yeah, and I second that, because I was at the show and I saw that was an awesome show, and hopefully we see you again with Morbid.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so we want to ask you another question, both of you. Do you remember any specific shows, both of you, that you remember that like that was a show like kind of like very special because like the crowd, or like something weird happened or something cool happened? I know you were at the time when the venue collapsed. I think you were at that.
Oh yeah,
I remember that. So like I would like to hear, like maybe it's a different experience, but like that just came to my mind. But like
that was a pretty crazy experience. We had it's kind of tough for me to talk about. Like my mind has really blocked out a lot of that. Like, but it's good to talk about. But basically, we got to the venue, and it was in Belvedere, Illinois, at the Apollo Theater. And we got to the venue, and I remember we all got a tornado warning on our phone. It was like a stage 3 or stage 4, so we didn't know if the show was going to happen. And we ended up going forward with the show. Crypta played. They got off stage, and Skeletal Remains was about to set up, and like the weather started to turn. And I remember standing outside, the sky kind of went dark and the winds like picked up, it changed directions. And then we got a tornado warning on our phone, and there were sirens that were going off, and someone from the venue told us to rush to the basement. And then like a few minutes, everyone rushes to the basement. A few minutes later, you just hear a giant bang. I thought that like there was lightning or thunder that had struck the building. And what had happened is the roof collapsed onto the crowd. So we ran up, and you could just see the sky from the venue. It was a pretty crazy thing. It was almost like, it felt like a dream or something. It was really crazy. And what had happened is a lot of the people that were in the venue, they had ran to the basement area, but the wind had hit the window, shattered the window of the venue. And then I think they ran to the center, and that's when the roof collapsed. So Yeah, so there was a lot of people in critical condition. One guy lost his life, which is terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a crazy night. I found out that same night my father had passed away. So that was that was a really crazy thing for I'm like doing the biggest tour of my life, and that happened, and it was like, okay, what's gonna happen? But we ended up finishing the tour after that. It felt good for me to just play every night. That was like the best distraction for me. So there's my sort of like short version of what happened there.
Wow, that's man, like it's wow. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know what to say honestly.
Yeah.
So, wow, yeah. Yeah. What about you, James? What is there any,
Doesn't matter really, does it?
I didn't mean to bring that heavy thing on, but you brought it up, and I can't just ignore it.
I'm sorry.
I should have gone first.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
No, it shows strength of character.
Yeah,
also, man.
it's good to talk about.
Yeah, I mean that's like insane. Like it's just fucking crazy, man. That's so much at once. Like I was home when it happened. I remember hearing about it, seeing all the pictures and stuff, thinking, holy shit. It's insane that only one person. Like, it's as fucked up as it sounds. Like it could have been so many more.
It had looked like everyone had died there. Like as soon as you walked up, it's like, oh my god, yeah.
But yeah, I'll keep it light.
Yeah, make it fun.
Yeah. So like the most memorable gig of my life is pretty much always going to be my first Vader one, because it was I was fresh out of school, like 2 weeks out of school or something. As I said, I'd been allowed to finish my degree, so I flew over to Poland, did like 3 days of rehearsals, and we went to Spodek in Katowice, and it was Vader, AXiS, Morbid Angel, Judas Priest, and yeah, like I mean I puked after the show, like not a lot, but that like adrenaline like kicked in after the show, and I was like, there's a picture. There was the promo picture for ages afterwards, I'm sure, because I was like, I felt it coming and I was sick a little bit in my mouth, and I was like, and I saw the flash, and I'm pretty sure that was the promo. Like the promo picture is me like almost vomiting.
Do you
Because I've
remember?
got this face like.
Do you remember actually being on stage playing, or is it all?
I
blur?
only remember flashes of it. And I mean, I remember it not being especially good, because I was like, I didn't know how to blast then or anything. Like, I was really, really winging it, and I did feel like a total imposter, especially like when you go from. It's sort of like when you go into LA, or when you play or when you play at drum festivals and you're suddenly surrounded by like the top of the top.
You're like, oh, you forget how to play drums.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I didn't know how to play drums at that point, really. Like, I didn't, like, I had the, I had the potential, but I was nowhere near there yet. I mean, I'm not there yet now, but
right.
I was not even, like, in the same postcode. Right? And then suddenly there's Tim Young, there's Tom Hunting, fucking, like, Rob, that Rob Halford's in the building. Like, of course, I never even like got anywhere near him, but he's there. Yeah, which is a really strange feeling. I met Trey that night.
Very cool.
He would not shut the fuck up about Judas Priest Unleashed in the East.
That sounds about right.
He gave
That's
me a
awesome.
2-hour lecture on why it's the best album ever made. It was
that's incredible.
So,
that's a really cool experience.
And then you're really starstruck. And then Nick Barker was tour managing AXiS, so like. Suddenly, like, I'd never met Nick Barker or whatever, but there's one of my drumming heroes just around, like, not even playing, but just there. And it's one of those moments where you're just like, where the fuck even am I? What is happening? And oh yeah, Tom Hunting came up to me as well, like at some point during the day. He went, "Oh, you're the new kid in Vader. Yeah, you need to hit way harder."
Stuff like that will stick with you forever.
Yeah, it does. But then. Like, I met him again at, like, some festival, like, 2-3 years later. And he went, "Yeah, that's it." I was like, cool. Like, tick. Like, Tom he definitely won't remember. Because famously, nothing else has happened in his life since then. But like he totally definitely won't remember something like that. But it meant a lot to me when he actually said, "Yeah, actually now you're doing it right." It was like, cool, that's really fucking awesome. Yeah. Then the fact that he remembered to actually go out of his way to do it the second time was really awesome.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing.
Cool. So to continue like lightening the mood since we were right.
Yeah.
So
I honestly, I think maybe my first show with Incantation was super. It was in my hometown and it was a sold out show.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the coolest ones, just because I was playing with one of my favorite bands in my hometown. But it was also a thing where I was nervous as hell, and the whole set felt like it was slow motion. You know, when your nerves are going. And,
with the adrenaline.
Yeah, it was like
the adrenaline
it was
pulls
like
everything
it was
down.
like complete tunnel vision. Like the show ended up being good, but I was so nervous afterwards that I was thinking like, oh my god, these guys are about to yell at me. I just fucked everything up, type thing. But the show was great.
Yeah, you get the anxiety. Like you don't have time to be anxious. Like when you're actually on the stage, so it all hits you at one time.
Yeah,
at once
it's like
afterwards.
this crazy adrenaline rush.
Yeah, so let's hop on to the next question, which is basically I want like just a funny story from tour that you can share with us and with the fans.
I've got loads, but I don't know how many I can share.
Yeah.
Just
Christ, I'm trying to.
Trying to find a PG one that I
Yeah, I'm just like stuff that is actually funny. That's the other thing. Like a lot of stuff that happens to you on tour is not that funny for normal people.
Yeah, we had a pretty funny thing on this tour where our bus broke down and we were in a U-Haul and a passenger van going through a blizzard for 3 days. I would say to the outsider that's hilarious, but to us it's not so funny. But now we can laugh about it.
I would also say to the outsider it's not. It's all the stupid shit. It's all the stupid conversations and stuff that makes sense to you and whoever's on the tour. Like Incantation have this thing where they bark at each other. It's really fucking dumb.
It's funny, but like now bands from all over the world, if they hear a bark from a distance, they're like, "Oh, it's Luke from Incantation."
Yeah, and it's so like there's tons of that kind of stuff. Like there's all these little moments that it's really hard to kind of like put.
Just boys being boys, basically.
Not really even. It's more just like it's like cabin fever when you're all just cope. It's a coping mechanism. When you're all
delirious.
Yeah, it's like everything. It is like a fever dream. Life is a total fever dream. Like
yeah, most tours like I don't really remember specific things from them. They kind of just like blur by.
No, if you remember things, it's normally because something really bad's happened.
Yeah,
like I remember like the one funny thing that I do remember, kind of, which isn't funny at the time, but is in retrospect because he was like such a stereotype that I had to like I just did a double take. Was that we were playing a festival in Ireland with Vader, it was a little bit. It was already quite suspicious, you know, because we were playing this really really small town. The promoter he was nice, but there was something a little bit off and everything. And crowd was actually okay. I think the drum kit didn't have front heads. There was like no front heads on the kit, like on the festival kit. So that was really strange. But also like he waited and then he came in and I swear like this is the exact accent he had, like the proper like leprechaun from a like you know like really bad impression of an Irishman type thing. He walked into our backstage like right before we were supposed to go on stage and goes, "Right now, lads, here's the thing. I haven't got the money to pay you." And we were just like, "Are you fucking serious?" Right? It was
right before the play. Wow.
Right, but yeah. I mean, we basically had to like we did manage to get like some of the money, but like we never got all of it. We were already fucked.
It's like great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, but for whatever reason that now lads, here's the thing, and that just fucking sticks with me forever. And I think it's for whatever reason I think it's like hilariously funny, and it isn't, but it is to me because it's like when you get delivered bad news in the weirdest fucking way, you know, like that stuff really sticks with you.
Yeah, with an Irish accent, like it's hard.
No, an offensively bad Irish accent. Yeah.
So let's hop into a little bit more technical stuff. So let's talk about exercises. How like Charlie, what specific exercise? Like, what do you do like to keep in shape? You know, between tours, like when it comes to exercises, just rudiments, stuff like that. Apart from playing songs, what do you do?
Yeah, lately, like I'm in between tours, I'm like doing recording sessions, and lately I haven't had a bunch of time to woodshed. But I guess on tour, like depending on the night, there's certain warm-ups that I do. A lot of the stuff's like this kind of wrist stroke stuff that I learned from Rob Carson. But there's nothing super like in particular, just basic rudiments, singles, combinations of singles and doubles. If I have a tour coming up, I'm really just playing the songs and really studying the songs that I'm about to play.
Oh, that's interesting. What about you, James? Do you do like rudimental and like single strokes runs and endurance stuff?
I use the time I have off tour, which is very little, to actually just take rest.
Yeah, it's because when you're extensively touring, it's just like you're
rest is gold. Yeah.
Like I mean, so after like I don't have the luxury of rest after this tour. Or the tour after that. Like I don't have the luxury of rest now until potentially September. Right. So every day I get off, I'm having the day off. Like because I just need to recover. So I'm even like my way of practicing at the moment is not practicing at all. Is letting my muscles recover, giving myself that break, and just doing other things, like resetting my brain. Because if I was practicing on my days off, I think I would go absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
We were touring right now with Darkest Hour and Travis Orbin, who is insane. He's practicing non-stop, like before the show. Like he's only practiced. I swear, I've only ever seen him practice and work out, and it's like
I went and spoke to him. Like I was like I saw the show. I was like, wow, this guy's awesome. I went
before the show. He's practicing after the show. Yeah, he's amazing.
He's fucking unbelievable. But I'm not able to do that. Like I'm so burnt out after a show. Because it's 75 minutes of blast beats or whatever, like that. Like I'm done. I'm basically sleeping until the next show, and then when I come home, I'm basically sleeping until the next tour, which is normally only a few days. Like I'm not even going home after this tour. Like I land back home, and I get on a train 3 hours later. And go to rehearsals. So, like, really, as much rest as I can get, because I really don't get that much.
So basically, get enough gigs so you don't have to practice.
It's kind of tough though, because there's so many things that I want to do and like really need and want to work on that I would love to just have a year off to do that. But I mean, when you're working, you have to take the work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the problem is like for example, Obscura was quite a last minute thing, and like I just had to kind of smash it out and just do it and not think too much about it. And there's so many things in there. I was like, I wish I could have more time to get to grips with this more. And like there's so many parts of Sebastian's that are just they're those parts that are just so insane and so stupid that you're just like, this would almost be funny if I didn't have to play this. Like it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's stuff that we only notice.
That's the stuff that I would love to sit down and really work on and have a lot more time to work on. But as Charlie's saying, like we're freelancers essentially. Like we've got our main band, our main job, but if the gigs are coming, you've got to just focus on whatever gigs you've got and just nail them and then go to the next one. And any practice time you've got is mostly going to be learning songs or learning specific things that you need for recording sessions.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, definitely. Like to me, at this point, like if I'm just doing the same gigs that I'm doing, it's almost like if I have a time or a day where I can just go outside and clear my head, I'm gonna play better the next day than if I were to be hammering drums all day.
Exactly,
I can see that. I understand. I fell into that, like wanting to practice and sit and run exercises. And sometimes you get busy with things and you couldn't touch the sticks for a few days, and like you think that, oh my god, I'm gonna be worse, and then you're actually better and you're more
body's
relaxed.
got to recover and things like that.
Well, and also I always find like after like a really grueling session, like after a Vader recording session or after like the last Decap session, you know, then maybe you don't touch the songs for like 6 months to a year because you've got to wait for the album to come out and what, you know, you're still playing the old stuff while the album goes into production and all of those kind of things. And then the songs were like, okay, it's time to start practicing the songs. And you think, oh man, this song fucking killed me in the studio, like. And then you play it way better. Like, oh, why aren't we recording this now? Because it's just it's that gap, it's that distance that makes you better at the song. Because all the time your brain is working on it, your brain is remembering that, but like in the background. So you
practice forward mainly because you don't harvest that right away.
Because you're. You know, every now and then you might think back to it and you might, oh, how does that song go? You remember the structure, you remember some of the parts and things, and it's certainly the way my brain works is I'm kind of remembering those songs and they just seem to be like going off in the background, and then when I come to them a year later, I don't have to work anything like as hard as I did a year ago, and that's, you know, because your brain is just working all the time on that stuff.
Yeah, it takes a while to just understand how that works.
Yeah, so the best time to record an album is 2 weeks after you've recorded it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Speaking of recording, then let's go into your guys' setups, and I wanna talk about like your setup. I know the D-Drum has just made you a new kit. Let's talk about the kit, about the setup. Why did you set it up like that? What's your preference? Like, and how would you set it up in different projects that you play?
Yeah, I think about that a lot with like each project or even each tour that like if I have the freedom of setting up a kit that I want to, I'm always thinking aesthetically of how the kit's going to look and really like how the kit's going to sound and project, and like what shells I want to use, what sizes, what the setup's going to be, where the cymbals are going to be and all that. Like, so sometimes it changes around depending on the material that I'm playing and whatnot. Yeah, like I'm using a much bigger kit. I didn't intend to use all the drums. I got this beautiful new kit, American custom kit from D-Drum. 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. I thought I was just going to use 2 up and 2 down, but I had all the shells, so I've just been experimenting with using all of them, and it's been a lot of fun, and I think the kit sounds really good on stage, and it looks really cool too.
It fits with Incantation.
Yeah, it fits the aesthetic. It's really like the album that we're doing is really dark, and there's these big thunderous drums, so I think it works for this tour. If I was playing something else, I might have a totally different setup.
Yeah, that makes sort of sense. Like when you hit the nail with that comment, and like the sound is definitely works for Incantation.
Yeah,
and the look.
Yeah,
like, it looks like an 80s metal band is on stage.
Yeah,
you know, like it looks like an old school death metal band is playing a show.
Awesome. So what about your setup?
I'm kind of. I mean, the core of my setup is always going to be 10, 12, and 16 in the standard configuration. That's always the building block. After that, everything else is just an add-on. So the 14 is an add-on on my left side. I like having 16 and 18 on the right side, but I don't like 14, 16. It feels a little bit too much like a children's toy. And tonally, 12 to 16 is quite a nice jump. 12 to 14 is a little bit strange. So I prefer to keep the 14 on my left side and use it for tom slams and big moments. The other nice thing is that it lends itself well to odd groupings. So like threes, you can go like right, left on the 10, left, right, left on the 12. right, left, right on the snare, left, right on the 10, right, left on the 12, left, right on the 14, right on the 16. So you're going, it lends itself well to these kind of paradiddles or odd groupings. So you can step away a little bit, or you can either use singles inventively, or you can use other rudiments to jump down the drums. It also has a nice panning effect. And I've just, at this point, I've had that set up for so long that I'm just used to it. I add an 8 in if I'm touring with Belphegor or Obscura, and sometimes if I've got the space and the capability, then an 18 will go in there somewhere as well. And that's like but the core of the setup is always the same. It always starts with that 10, 12, 16, and then everything else is surplus, really.
It looks like we are almost out of time, but I want to close with something. I want to because you both just joined the AXiS roster, so I just want to talk about your pedals. Or how do you set them up, and why, and how, and the new pedals that you just got for this tour, and how you feel about them. You can start if you want.
Okay, right now I'm using the AXiS longboard, actually with the carbon fiber footboard, and I'm also using This is my first tour using these pedals, and I'm using the micro spring as well.
The micro tune.
Yeah, micro tune.
Yeah.
And sorry, but right now I have a pretty loose spring tension, but a very pretty big beater angle. So it works for the tour that I just did with Incantation stuff. I'm not using triggers, so I'm able to get a lot of power out of the pedals. And I really like the carbon footboard. It's super light for travel. That's like, it's awesome when you're touring all the time to have light pedals.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah.
What about you?
Here's how much we're going to find out about how much I don't know anything about these pedals. I've got my pedals. They were not set up, but like I don't know anything about they've been set up by someone else because I really, really don't want to be involved in my pedal setup.
Yeah, which is basically this person right here.
Yeah, he's the man.
So I took a look at James's pedals. I understand a little bit of how he plays how his technique is. So from my experience with drummers, I just went to the go-to settings for somebody who plays this kind of stuff, and he seemed to like that. Yeah. So we just
what I asked for just give me George Colius' settings. Just do that, and then I'll know.
Yeah. So you all know, like George used to be on our roster, and George used to use one footboard riser per footboard. And he used to use the A longboards with the VDL in the center, and that's basically with the springs maxed, and that's basically the setting.
So there you go.
Yeah.
And then, I've been using them. I've they were set up like that a year ago, and I just have not touched them. Like I very much a set and forget kind of guy.
This is one of the things that also I love about AXiS pedals. Is also what Derek said, is they have not so many settings, which is actually very productive, as opposed to having all the settings in the world and just spending more time messing with it.
Oh god, yeah. Then you thought there's so many. It's one of the things. Probably I'll end up having a question like this today, and it's one of the rabbit holes that I constantly advise against, which is don't constantly change all of your settings.
Just usually, if you just start out of the box, like that's a good starting point.
100%.
Learn how to play on your pedal,
and stop reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, so I've got whatever Zed just said I have, and I press down and it works, so I don't question these things.
Yeah, and I've come from just playing very barbaric chain pedals, and I was always like, oh, I can't get the same power, but the setup that I have right now, I'm able to get just as much, if not more, power than any other pedal.
Oh, and what I will say to round off is that we both just tried out. I'm using a twin today because we just couldn't get two kicks. And the drive shaft for the twin is really, really good.
Yeah, that was definitely the best double pedal that I've ever felt, and I've played a lot of double pedals, and I'm usually like, I hate double pedals, and I'm always using two singles, but like sitting there, it just if you close your eyes, you think you're playing two kick drums.
We both just went ooh. So
It was one of those moments. Hey, check this out.
I love hearing that every
And that
day.
was
Like, you can call me
completely-
every day and tell me that if you want.
completely, completely organic and not manufactured moment.
Yeah, AXiS doesn't have a gun to my head right now.
Okay, I would like to thank James and
Thanks, man.
thank Charlie. They're about
Thank
to
you, Zed.
do an awesome clinic now for us in North Hollywood. So thanks for everybody for watching, and see you in the next one.